All right. Hey again, everyone. Craig Galbraith, Channel Futures Editorial Director here. Excited for another edition of Channel Futures TV. Big reason to be excited is my guest here, Eric Townsend. Eric is Dell Expert Network Cybersecurity and Cloud Partner Advisor. Eric, welcome to the show.
I'm glad to be here, Greg.
All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about some thought leadership advice for MSPs today. So some really good content for our audience. Maybe start off by talking a little bit about the strategies that you have found to be most effective for MSPs in establishing that thought leadership with their business customers.
Yeah, and Craig, I always like to give partners, because I always see them talking, I'm posting stuff on social media, I'm doing all stuff. And I always like start with it as partners. When we talk about thought leadership, it's kind of comparing like a lighthouse versus a flashlight. So if someone's saying, yeah, I'm posting stuff on social media, I've got my, things I'm posting on LinkedIn, I'm like, you're being a flashlight. You're basically just temporarily throwing something out there, doesn't really sustain impact. Whereas a lighthouse, we're going to talk about today in these strategies, it's really being that beacon of insights, of guidance you can bring. And how that's done, like I've seen kind of three ways it's done really, really well. And this is going to take a lot of time for people, right? So getting the right content together. Your content is insightful. A part of actually having education for your clients. And that's not necessarily just a post, but that's actually having things called workshops and seminars. We used to do that way back in the day, but actually having those those can be virtual or face-to-face. And then also really when we hear a lot about doing case studies and testimonials, and we're getting quotes, but there's no real tangible benefits or achievable outcomes. And so I'm always about, when you're going to go tell that story and you're going to be a thought leader, let's start putting into action what are those tangible benefits, that ROI of them working with you, and then what are the achievable outcomes, not some pie in the sky thing that's coming in the future.
Yeah, so that's good stuff, Eric. Let's get into some nitty gritty here. Yeah. I think the audience could use some examples of maybe some specific content or initiatives that you believe have contributed significantly to an MSP's thought leadership development. Yeah,
so I would say, Craig, there's a couple that have done really, really well. And I wish I could say these are my examples. These I've been participating with partners in. So and managed service providers that aren't always targeting large enterprises, right? Sometimes small businesses, medium businesses, right? And so one thing that's really easy, everyone here can do really well, because I hear it all the time, is the technology deep dive. They want to go deep down. They want to talk about the how. And I'm always like, okay, they don't really care how your AWS infrastructure is set up. They don't really care about that. Or how you have Active Directory work. They don't really, what they want to understand is what is the more in-depth, complex technologies that you can explain to them. So if we talk about AI or cloud computing, not just what it is, but really why should they really care from a strategic level? And I'm not talking like a 100 level, we're talking like a 501 PhD level, what should they be thinking about? And that impact is actually today, could be in future. So technical deep dives, easy. I would say one thing that's very, very prevalent right now that partners doing that are very successful and establishing their thought leadership across, I would say, North America is cybersecurity insights. So this is where, Craig, where they're actually taking, and us as vendors, we have lots of content. I always say, you don't have to go create this, right? You go grab that content and you publish comprehensive. I always use the word bigger. It's not like I'm going to publish something. I'm going to create a comprehensive report around the evolving threats that are out there. And if you want to know, Craig, is, you could type in right now, threats from, Monday, and you're going to see all of them. There's one happening once a week. They're actually happening every hour. So, but comprehensively putting that out there, I think, is key. And then also the lost art of these executive roundtables. I think I'm not going to go away from only virtual or only physical, but hosting kind of some in-person ones and getting people to really talk through what are challenge opportunities that they're dealing with around different transformations in their business. We'll talk about thought leadership in developing that. I'm not just saying you have to do the technical deep dives, but how are you creating that business thought leadership, those executive roundtables?
Comprehensive yet selective around that thought leadership. Absolutely, Eric. So let's talk about the industry is rapidly evolving, right? I mean, we see that every day. How did MSPs stay ahead of the curve and consistently showcase that expertise that you're talking about to be able to position themselves as a thought leader?
I'll go back to the three big ones, right, that I see regularly. One, people are here today, right? So that part about continuously learning. So the more the people can engage, whether it's in podcasts, video ones, or you're going and you're reading, or you're getting certifications, all that stuff, lean in there, continuously learn. Because if you're not learning, it's just like I said, you're going to be left behind. I would say a really big thing I've seen lately, and this is a hard one. I would say, Craig, everything I'm going to say, this is the hardest thing to do. And so the people that are like, okay, I really want the meat. This is like the T-bone steak. It's something called agile adaptation. I learned this from a partner not too long ago. And what he says, Eric, a lot of times how I beat my competition, it's simple. They hate change. I love it. He's like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and I'm going to adjust my service offering. So I just don't do cybersecurity. I just don't do cybersecurity insurance. Everyone's talking about that. But how about threat detection intelligence? That's a trend we're hearing about. I'm going to actually adjust my offering. I'm going to do maybe like a project scope or something like that. And then I'm going to actually share success stories around me doing that. So by the time one of my competitors goes, hey, we should do something like that, I've already created the category, I already have success stories behind it, and I'm already an expert in it. And so I've already got the market. So that agile adaptation, I'd say, is a big one. And then also, where I see a lot of partners really growing and understand more, and this has been up for a while, and some are taking advantage, some are not, is really industry collaboration. How are you coming together, partnerships, joint ventures, cross-industry collaboration in peer groups? There's great events that you can go to, but really engaging in it and getting yourself exposed to different perspectives around different technologies, because you may have a point of view in your specific market, in your specific industry, but there's other ones out there that you can learn from.
Yeah, that's interesting. So let me follow up on that collaboration point. Then maybe you can describe an example where an MSP partnered with others to enhance their influence and their credibility at the same time.
Yeah, so there's many ones I've seen, Craig, but I think where the easiest for partners is that they partners with a lot of great vendors. I'll be honest, hardware vendors, software vendors, network vendors, everyone, right? All of those people have resources, and they all want to help you. So I saw one partner one time that basically kind of had an industry consortium where went through and brought a software vendor perspective, got a hardware vendor perspective. These are just people that he buys from. And said, hey, by the way, let's get together and kind of talk about digital transformation. And what do we see digital transfer happening today, and where's going to be in the future? And establishing that and sharing kind of those stories and really talking about those emerging technologies, which once again, he's bringing more perspective in than just what he was bringing himself. That establishes thought leadership on himself. Like it looks like he knows, but he's just bringing the people together. So that has been something that I've seen people do a lot. Even, cybersecurity, the whole thing about that comprehensive part. I've had partners go and participate on task force with an ISV. It's like, hey, we want people to do beta testing on something that we're putting out. Be a part of that and bring some of the people together doing that and create kind of a task force on, hey, here's some of the threats we're seeing out there and how are we dealing with that? Those type of the collaborations, the task force, all those ways to engage and then be communicating that really establishes thought leadership.
Yeah, nobody can be an expert in everything these days, can they? Absolutely.
No.
Some good points there, Eric. So lastly, from your experience, what advice would you give to, say, a growing MSP that's looking to build that thought leadership profile? Maybe some key steps or actions that they should prioritize? Yeah,
and Craig, I love using analogies. You probably saw the lighthouse front, but I'm going to give. I love food. I'm a food guy, right? So kind of like I would, right. So you probably know the difference between a gourmet chef and a fast food cook.
Well, I would hope.
Yeah, right. But so I give it. Yeah, that gourmet chef, they're really about crafting the ingredients for the right experience and present them in a unique and memorable way. Like you can remember the really good. And when you're that type of gourmet chef, well, you can remember. You could probably tell me. But once that person that's just the shorter cook, they're just pumping stuff out. I'm posting my content. I'm pumping it out, right? And I think what we got to go back to is that when you're going down this path of thought leadership, probably three key things. One's not always a popular one. I'll tell you, you need to get some niche expertise in certain areas. Don't try and be all things to all people. I have one partner of mine that's phenomenal in dentistry. Not a dentist, but it's the biggest MSP that knows dentists. He's gotten so much expertise that he gets invited to speak at dentist conferences about technology. He's the only person there. And so it's great. But I'd say also really having consistent content. So when you have that expertise, making sure that you have that thoughtful and comprehensive information, not just like once a month, right? We call that digital exhaust, where that's going to not even you're not even going to see it. If you put something out every 2 weeks, people aren't going to be able to read it. Their feed goes too fast. So consistently putting stuff out that's thoughtful. And I think the last part is engage your network, right? And engage, I mean, like being able to, when you go to like events or when you're in virtual environments or when you're having these roundtables, discuss, share your perspective and collaborate, because that's what's going to make you kind of know, okay, what should that experience be? How do I lay this out? How am I thoughtful? And as a result, people are going to see that. People are going to engage. They're going to say, well, how can I get more information about what you're putting out there? Because I really think it's very thought-provoking. So that part of being that gourmet chef, I would have you think about, instead of being that fast food kind of stuff.
Good stuff, Eric. I'm a bit of an analogy metaphor type of guy myself too, so I can definitely appreciate it. Eric Townsend with Dell Expert Network. Eric, thanks for your time today on Channel Futures TV.
Thank you.